Mark Scaife. Something new for you on our Shell Helix graphic here. Their qualifying position on the right, and obviously the position they are on screen is where they finished, and that'll give you a comparison. Obviously Murphy started second and won the race, and the list goes right through there to Garth Tanner in 8th position, struggling with the flu.
Cameron McLean and Glenn Seaton alongside Stephen Richards and Tony Longhurst. Rodney Forbes qualified 21st, finished 13th, a great move by him. Mark Larkham and David Skippy Parsons.
Back to John Bowe, who did actually go backwards, you can see there, from 12th to 17th, just ahead of Steve Reed. Faulkner seems to be struggling today as well. It's a little bit mysterious. Truckee Parsons, Leighton Cranbrook did quite well also, from 28th to 22nd, and he has just turned 18.
And looking back toward the rear, Anthony Tratt and Paul Dumbrell. Paul really struggling with that car, doesn't rev apparently, problems with the engine. Mike Emery and Dougal McDougall. Paul Radisich, now look at that, the pole man has gone back to 29th position. What a terrible day. And Dick Johnson, his teammate, alongside. So a bad day for the Shell team after it looked so promising at the start.
Well, as we get ready for race 2, the word is that the officials will evaluate the tyre rule because they only get given 2 sets of wets. They will evaluate that after this race because this track is just shredding the tyres. Talking with both Mark Scaife and Paul Radisich, they said they had barely nothing left at the end of that race, and that's quite treacherous in these conditions. Scaife said that he wasn't just playing a points game, he was having a good hard go at Murphy, so we'll see how they square off in this one. Race 2 of 3, round 9 of the Shell Championship Series. Away we go, and Scaife.
Oh, I don't know. It looked a little bit like Scaife was running a bit then at the start, but I don't know. We'll have to let the judges judge that.
Oh,
look at the inside Crompton.
They're squeezing each other nice and tight through that tight left-hander. Tanner got away to a good one also. Cameron McLean there is being overtaken. They all slip and slide through very difficult and challenging conditions, and Radisich has got damage.
Oh, look at the mist down the back there. But Paul Radisich has collided with someone, done some damage to the front of his car, so his day is going from bad to worse. But Crompton won that little scrap with Bargwanna. He comes up to 3rd position. The field sort themselves out through the hairpin. One spun back there. Looks like Tony Longhurst in the Castrol Falcon. So a relatively clean start. Hopefully the field can pick their way past, but it's Mark Scaife who's got the jump on Greg Murphy this time around as they come down the back straight, pouring through the spray, braking hard at the end of the back straight as they swing back toward the pits.
Look at the water, standing water there on the inside. There's some visibility for Murphy. It's a bit of a nightmare until everybody gets round on the first lap and sort of disperses some of the water. So you see Murph trying to sort of get out of the way so he can just to the side of Scaife and get a bit of a look to see where he's going, basically.
Well, we'll see how we go this time round because Murphy, each time when Scaife was a lot closer to him in the first race, was getting out of the hairpin, was getting the power down a lot more effectively than Scaife, and Mark acknowledged that after the first race. So we'll see how Greg goes, whether he gets a clear run on Mark Scaife. It is a lot more difficult conditions here. The rain, there is Radisich's car, so it is not his day after picking up his first pole position. It's going from bad to worse.
Well, the good thing is if it's cold conditions, it might save it from overheating.
This is Longhurst, oh, yeah, she's locked all up on the way in there and didn't see the beginning of it, but he was lucky not to take Stephen Richards out there, wasn't he?
Larry Perkins almost came in contact with him as well. That reminds me of the Wayne Gardner incident there of a couple of years ago.
Oh, look at Murph. Murphy's definitely on the pedal there. Oh, yeah. A little bit of, you see the front aquaplane in there on Scaife's car.
Well, nothing changed further back either. Crompton still hanging on to 3rd from Bargwanna.
Yeah, conditions much wetter this time around. They're running in the 48-second bracket. Oh, Paul Radisich, he's decided to park it. Yeah, I was saying it's a shame because it looks like he might have run out of brakes down there.
You're right. Something he obviously would have just nipped over there to park her up. But
I was just saying that with that possible radiator damage, the conditions are so cold here, he might have been able to continue, but it looks like his brakes aren't working either. So from the highs to the lowest of lows, Paul Radisich, our pole position man, is just having an absolute shocker. Here come the race leaders to put a lap on him. Mark Scaife and Greg Murphy through the spray, 2.7 seconds the gap over Neil Crompton in 3rd position. Jason Bargwanna hounding the FTR Ford hard.
Here's your race leader. We ride now with Mark Scaife in the number 2 Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore. As he... Oh, he's gone! Scaife has lost it. Or did he hang on to it? No, he has.
I think he's hung on to it. But
Murphy is
Murphy's
through.
passed, but did you see Mark's eyes? Whoa, that was, we didn't see that one from outside, but looking by the state of Mark's face, it was a pretty good one.
Doesn't that put a chill up your back when you see that happen? Goodness me. He managed to catch it though, but it was enough of a mistake for Murphy to take advantage. Not sure if there was any contact between those two cars.
It didn't look like it. It looked like a bit of a lose from Mark. Looking by the look on his face, I don't know. We'll have to see if we get a replay or something, but he definitely been worried.
Heart stopper.
Absolutely. Now, you look at this visibility. That is the worst thing about it. Right, let's have a look here.
No, it was all on his own.
This is where he lost the front.
Whoa!
Yeah, basically, yeah, on the inside there, and it's the aquaplane. If you remember before, I said, oh, look at aquaplane. And that really nasty moment, because basically you're a passenger then, and he luckily enough he regained it all and got some grip and managed to get through the corner. It's a nasty job.
The wins Kmart Commodore of Greg Murphy. Will he make it 2 from 2? He's got a handy buffer over Scaife at the moment to the tune of 1.2 seconds. And very difficult conditions here at Symmons Plains.
That was a good save.
Yeah, it was a really good save, because 9 case out of 10 you're looking, he would have been looking at Murph in his mirror or something, and you just got one eye on the mirror, one eye on the corner, and then you run through a puddle right on the inside of the corner. It's frightening.
Here comes Garth Tanner up alongside his teammate Jason Bargwanna. And Tanner suffering a terrible flu this weekend. He doesn't sound too well when you talk to him.
Terrible.
Yeah,
he looks really ill.
Well, he's made a good go of it, because he's come from 8th to 5th in this race. Crompton is hanging there in 3rd. This is 3rd, 4th and 5th on screen. The Ford Tickford Racing AU of Crompton, then Bargwanna, then the older VS, the very successful in 1999 Garth Tanner, who has had 4 podium finishes. Crompton finished 3rd in the first one and maintains that position here now.
Incidentally, I was talking to Russell Ingle. He said in 20 years of racing, he's never driven in such a boring race as the first one. He said because basically now they've come up with all kinds of rules and regulations about when you should pass and when you shouldn't pass, and the fact that you mustn't do this and you mustn't do that. And he said, really, you know, it's, as far as he's concerned, it's ruining the races, because everybody was scared to get anywhere near anyone in case they got penalised. So that's quite a big thing for Russell to say. So that in 20 years he's never driven in such a boring race.
Fastest man on the circuit at the moment is car 6, Neil Crompton, a 59.14 on the previous lap. So he's really flying in the FTR Falcon. 1.6 seconds the gap between Greg Murphy and Mark Scaife. A further 1.6 seconds between Scaife and this man, Crompton.
Well, this really is winding back the clock to 1997, isn't it? When there was treacherous conditions as it is right now. Garth Tanner currently on screen. He's been a big mover, but not quite as big as John Bowe, who has come from 16th to 11th in race 2. So whatever the problems were in the opening race, Bowe seems to have sorted that out, and he's making his way up. Likewise, Stephen Richards, who has entered the top 10 in 10th position.
Boggs is looking like he's really going to have a go at Crompton in a minute.
Positions between the leaders remain static. 1.6 seconds the gap between Murphy and Scaife, and then another 1.6 back to Scaife and Crompton.
They're not that far behind, Mark, are they, when you look at it?
Here's Bargwanna having a sneak peek up the inside, but won't do it.
Oh, a little bit of the old touch up the, what's it?
I'm here.
Hello.
The Mitre 10 lap counter indicates lap 7 of 22. We've still got plenty of action left in this one. And isn't it healthy for the championship? It's great to see Bargwanna come back and the 2 wins cars.
Yeah,
so
no doubt,
drivers that have been struggling this year finally seeing some headway.
I guess we expected that, Lee, because at the beginning of the year, the Mobile Holden Racing team were always going to be dominant because they had the most sorted overall package of anyone. But as the year's progressing, as we're seeing with the Wins team, as we're seeing with the Valvoline Cummins team, the guys are starting to get on top of these Bridgestone tyres. They're starting to discover how you make the car work for you, and we're starting to see a lot more competition.
Now you will see for the first time Bargwanna on screen right now and his teammate right behind him. They will team up at the FAI 1000 in November, and also the Queensland 500 and the Queensland Raceway Circuit. For the first time, they drove with different drivers last year. If you remember, Tanner teamed up with Cameron McLean and Bargwanna, Jimmy Richards, as Tanner runs wide and puts the pressure on Bargwanna. And they've got an interesting challenge ahead of them, because in terms of height, Tanner's 190 centimetres tall and Bargwanna is considerably less at 168. So they've got some serious sorting out to do with in terms of their seating positions. Don't forget, the next round coming up is the 10th round of this year's Shell Championship Series at Winton on August 22. And And also, too, we'd like to send a message to you, too, Barry. You'd like to make mention about the Queensland 500, and they seem to have got the traffic problem sorted out.
Yeah, the local government has got involved in it, the local council, the police, and basically what they're going to do going into Queensland Raceway, they're going to make the part of the freeway one-way and absolutely make it like a one-way system. Oh, it's Cameron McLean.
Cameron McLean.
Well, one-way system, and they are sure to have it sorted out. You know, there's no doubt whatsoever about that. You know, everybody and their aunt is involved in it, so they're doing their best and they've promised that it's going to be okay.
Well, you can see Cameron's running those big discs on the wheels. Have a look at them on the Shell Helix replay.
Oh, yeah, just...
Now, the idea with those discs on the wheels is to trap a lot of the brake heat inside the rim and transfers heat to the tyres, try to make them come in a bit sooner. But Cameron said the price he was paying, that it was actually making the brakes a bit too hot.
Barguana in front of Crompton.
So he's up to third.
Oh, look at that Tander.
Tander's putting the pressure on Crompton as well. So here come the Valvoline cars. The new VT of Barguana, the older VS of Tander. He has a look at Crompton now. And the visibility is at a very, very low.
Fastest man on the circuit, though, at the moment is Russell Ingall. 58.04 for the Castrol driver, but he's sitting right back there in 8th position. And he's a long way behind the leaders. Here they come through the spray. Barguana, Crompton now defending from Tander, has a look down the outside as they break hard for the hairpin.
I'd say that's one of the most things to get used to in a touring car when you first ride. Is in this, well, you never get used to it, this kind of visibility, or the lack of visibility in the rain. It's just, you think, I'm bloody mad, you know, I'm flat out here, I'm doing 140, 150 mile an hour, can't see anything. Or you can, you're hoping to see the guy's brake lights in front of you. It's
just looks incredibly dangerous, doesn't it?
It is, yeah. Really, when you think of, oh dear, here we go, Parsons.
David Truckee Parsons, car 98.
Now, is that on the outside of turn 2? If it is, we will see a safety car condition, because that's where Dick Johnson went off. Where is that?
That's exactly
the same position.
That's it. Oh, yeah, exactly that. Oh, no, look at that.
That's Murphy.
Murphy spun. Now, he's got a big dent in the back bumper. I wonder if he was leaned on there. Well,
just gets through in front of Russell Ingall and rejoins behind teammate Stephen Richards.
Have a look at the back bumper on car 12.
Oh, yes.
Looked like he had a big dent there. We'll have to look at that closer, but Murphy having a big spin. So it's all happening here. The conditions absolutely treacherous.
Tander trying to put a move on Crompton there. Now, we got a very quick shot of it there through the hairpin. Barguana is very close to Mark Scaife. So Scaife now leads this race at the halfway mark, lap 11 of 22. There is second place, Jason Barguana in the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. And if you remember, he finished on the podium here last year in third place behind Lowndes and Scaife.
And we know he's ever so good at the end of the straight. You remember last year when we got two of them at the end of the straight up the inside. It'd be nice for Bargs to get a decent result, wouldn't it? So.
And there's Jason Bright off, look.
Oh,
Jason Bright in the Pertec Ford.
Dear me.
Well, it's getting very, very slippery out there, isn't it? Yellow flags waving, there's cars going off all over the place. Getting like a skating rink at Symmons Plains as the rain continues to pour. Mark Scaife, 1.2 seconds in front of Jason Barguana. Neil Crompton still in third, some 2.4 seconds behind the Valvoline machine, but there's the Pertec Ford, and
that is in even a more dangerous position.
That's in a really bad position.
He's out on the track.
That is mega dangerous there.
All right, well, there's been plenty of action in the second of 3 races, round 9. This is how they sit. The revised positions: Scaife, Barguana, Crompton, Tander, and McConville in 5th. Back right after this. Welcome back to Symmons Plains. We are back under green. Scaife leads the way as Tander looks for a way past Neil Crompton. So new race leader Mark Scaife. Through they go. Big puddle of water there on the inside of turn 2. Barguana, Crompton, Tander, they are still your top 4, and Murphy has dropped back. So too has Cameron McLean, who has drifted all the way back to 22nd after we saw him running off.
I tell you what, McConville's on the way up now.
Yeah, he's doing a steady run. Look at Tander on Crompton. The outside run.
No, I don't think so.
He's going to try.
Well.
Oh, yeah, he was hung out to dry there because that's allowed Cameron McConville to come up the inside. The 2 VS Commodores, the 2 older model cars. McConville tucks in behind in the spray. Look at the amount of water out on that circuit. Blinding visions through these screens. The Shell Helix replay of this, the Murphy incident.
Yeah, it's on board with Mark Scaife. You see there, you watch Murphy on the right. Dougal brakes quite hard, and then Murphy just locks it up. He doesn't get tapped by a mark or anything.
No
it's
contact.
Just a racing accident, really. When the conditions are like this, you get that sort of thing.
That has handed the points to Mark Scaife, and incidentally, after race 1, where Skate finished second. He was tied, or I shouldn't say was, he is tied for second in the championship now with Glenn Seaton. So it's all about points at this stage of the season.
And keep your eyes back through the sprays, guys, at Russell Ingall. He is consistently the fastest man on the track, and he's right behind this bunch here. You'll see him just coming through the spray in the SLX silver machine. A great shot from the hairpin.
He's
There's Ingall.
yeah.
He's just going to join the back of this train, so he's right in this lead battle. Scaife, Bargwanna, Crompton, Tanner, McConville, Ingall, and Seaton just sitting back there in the spray. Gee, he's sneaky, isn't he? No, if you take your eyes off him, he just keeps moving up the order.
Well, let's watch him fly through here. There's Seaton, and there is Stephen Richards. Now, that is an outstanding effort. Stephen started the day in 16th position and is now well positioned in 8th, 2 ahead of Greg Murphy in 10th. And Bow has penetrated the top 10. He sits in 9th. There he is. Just a quick shot. And this battle continues between Garth Tanner and Neil Crompton. Ford v Holden. Ford Tickford Racing AU of Crompton, and Tanner, who has been the real surprise this year after being tagged a hothead and a little dangerous last year. Very much a settled driver and consolidated things this year, as we said earlier, for 4 podium finishes for the 22-year-old.
And Neil Crompton having one of his best drives in season 99.
In actual fact, he's been getting better and better, isn't it, for him?
Well, he has. He's had a terrible start to the season. I mean, you remember how fast he was last year when he did a few drives for Glenn Seaton Racing. He's had a terrible start with the new FTR operation, but things finally starting to come together for him. He's been very quick throughout the weekend here. 4th fastest in qualifying as we look at the Bridgestone driver profile for Jason Bargwanna, 27 years of age, originally from Como in New South Wales, now bases himself down in Victoria. Works for Gary Rogers, his car dealer, in fact. Works in the spare parts division. So during the week he's toiling away at the car dealership. On the weekends he's out racing 600 horsepower V8 supercars, and he's very good at it too. 2nd position at the moment, 1.6 seconds behind Mark Scaife.
I tell you what, the rain's coming down harder now.
Yeah, it's not giving him any relief at all. There is Cameron McConville at the back of this pack. Behind there is Russell Ingall. Then Glenn Seaton in the 2nd of the FTR AUs. Look at the amount of mud on the side of the track there, making it even more difficult. That's where a little bit of diesel was spilt earlier in the weekend, so that would be the most treacherous corner on the circuit. This is Jason Bright.
Behind, yeah. Well, he just rushed in, then up behind DJ, and DJ may have stopped a little bit earlier or something, and Jason just locked the whole thing up.
What a tough weekend for him.
Yeah, it really has, isn't it? It's been a tough couple of weeks for him, really, isn't it?
Russell Ingall in the Castrol Commodore. We go on board with the Enforcer. Eyes are on. It's pretty hard to see out of these cars in these conditions.
Look at
there,
this.
You're looking, yeah, that's what he's seeing.
It's not actually as bad as that, because if you look on the right-hand side, Russell's got the wiper in front of him, but what we're looking through is the screen with no wiper. But it's still pretty bad when you're following somebody and you're trying to look at, a way to get past and look at. It's really not nice. Larry
Perkins and John Faulkner. This is 11th and 12th. Faulkner with a little damage on the front of his VT Commodore. And Paul Romano in behind him in 13th position, Larkham 14th, and Paul Wheel in the K&J Radiators car, a great effort up to 15th.
Well, the 2 fastest men in this top 10 are Mark Scaife, our race leader, and Glenn Seaton is sitting back there in 7th. Scaife has done a 59.05, Seaton a 59.09, so he's really getting a move on. Sitting back there in the spray, but he's still got a lot of work to do.
And if you're saying, hang on a minute, I thought the races were 322 lap races. Of course, we had the safety car period, so this is now 25 laps, giving Ingall time to make the move. Oh, McConville gets sideways. That's the entry onto the main straight. It's an extremely fast section of the circuit. Then they go through the little dip and rise before this complex here, which winds around onto the straight run down to the hairpin.
If you drive around here in the rain, there's a lot of the grading on the track seems wrong over there where Scaife lost it, because it's the water just puddles on the inside of the circuit.
25-year-old Cameron McConville from Melbourne, former Australian Formula Ford champ and GTP champ in 1996. This is his first drive in a V8 supercar for the Mobile Holden Racing team. We've seen him drive for Faulkner the last 3 rounds, and we will see him stay with this team for the Enduros. He and Paul Morris are the contracted drivers for the 500 and the FAI 1000 in November. And he said, my role this weekend is to fly the flag for the team and to help out Craig Lowndes and Mark Scaife.
5 laps remaining for our race leader, Mark Scaife. Jason Bargwanna now 2.8 seconds behind the Mobile Commodore. Scaife's doing it strong out front. Neil Crompton.
There's Greg Murphy.
Oh dear.
Well, Mike Emery now in the Saab Rec Commodore. He's parked that coming out turn 7 onto the pit straight. Now, will that call out a safety car? Will they try and finish it? Gee, it's difficult out there.
Well, it's the worst thing because it's raining hard and the tyres are getting more worn, so you've got less and less depth of tread on the tyres, and more water on the circuit. So everything's going the wrong way. It's Mark Larkham.
That will be it for Larkham, perhaps, or will he try and get back out and finish this race with just 4 laps remaining?
Boy, is that a nightmare of a year, isn't it?
Remember the first race I was talking about the front spoiler, and we saw Scaife's spoiler go from red to white just because it was being eroded away. They actually had to change the front spoiler. It gets sort of just blasted that bad. It was a brand new spoiler and they had to replace it with another new one. Just with the water blasting, if you wish, and a little bit of the grit or whatever off the circuit surface. As Russell Ingall is right there with Cameron McConville now, and then Seaton and Richards as Larkham in the Mitre 10 Ford rejoins.
4 laps remaining for Mark Scaife. 2.9 seconds the lead over Bargwanna. He's pumped it out by another 1/10 of a second. Crompton's dropped back a few car lengths now from Bargwanna. Tander all over the FTR Falcon. Cameron McConville defending hard from Russell Ingall. The 35-year-old charging hard, trying to keep his championship hopes alive. The SLX Commodore made great gains to get onto the back of this train, but he hasn't really moved up from there.
The thing that we have to keep pointing out is that the series is far from over with the 2 double points races at the end of the year, the Queensland 500 and the FAI 1000. Sure, Lowndes has a big lead, but it is far from over.
Well, there's more than 1,000 pump points on the table coming into this round. That means there's still more than 30 drivers with a mathematical chance of winning the championship. It's going to go right down to Bathurst, no doubt about it.
This is your race leader, Mark Scaife, and is currently second in the championship. Tied for second with Glenn Seaton, but after this race that'll be a little different. Scaife will move firmly into second position. Bargwanna, what a run by him, and Crompton has held off a very determined challenge from Garth Tanner, and it is so tricky here. If you make the slightest mistake, there is people queuing up to snatch your position on the track. McConville is still right there with Tander, and so too Ingall.
I tell you what's going to be, they only get 2 sets of wets, and they're going to discuss whether they're going to give out any more sets after this, because if the tyres are warmed badly in this, and the next race is heavier rain than this, it's going to be dangerous if they don't give them new tyres, because, you know, the aquaplaning you see with Scaife and a couple of other guys, you know, and their tyres are worn now. There's a lot of surface water about, so I think you'll find they're going to have to bend the rules a bit.
Greg Murphy, former race leader, is back into 10th as we have a look at a replay. This is the Emery incident.
Oh, a little bit of a tap there.
Well, that's a separate incident.
Maybe he got out of the last one and he's done it again, I'm not sure.
2 laps remaining as Tander, so persistent, but...
Well, Crompton's doing the best job of defending, isn't he? Like, he's just putting his car in a position where Tander has nowhere to go in terms of moving up a spot.
There's no way that Tander could go around the outside here. Normally in the dry you could run 2 abreast round there, but it would just be suicide to do it because nobody's out there and there's more surface water on the outside of the circuit, so you'd have to be brave or stupid to try it.
Now this will be Crompton's second third in a row. Race 1, he finished third. Race 2, he's looking good to get that. We may very well see Neil Crompton on the podium at the end of the day as they begin their final lap and the run home around the 2.41 kilometre Symmons Plains circuit. Scaife looking so strong with a 2.5 second lead over Jason Bargwanna. Now, word through that although they are thinking about, and when I say they, the officials evaluating the tyre situation, apparently the word from the pits is that Bridgestone only have 10 sets of wets left.
That's a major dilemma then, Lee, because you're talking about a safety aspect here, not talking about purely competition. And if the weather does get any worse, you know, it would be quite wrong to send people out on warm, wet weather tyres in weather conditions like this.
Well, we'll keep you up to date on that situation when we return after the break. Once this race concludes and we come back for race 3, we'll keep you informed about that. But this is the run for home, and Mark Scaife picks up the win in race 2 here at Symmons Plains. A well-deserved win there is Jeff Grech, the Mobile Holden Racing Team manager, and his boy brings home maximum points in the second race. There's Glenn Seaton, a determined drive by him. He will finish in 6th position, and that's where Glenn is so sneaky, just creeping up and grabbing the points. But Scaife, a second in the first and a win in the second, and his championship just gets better and better. After a disastrous Adelaide 500 at the beginning of the year, he's just played a sensible game, has won 4 of the 8 rounds so far, and just keeps on gathering those points, Baz.
Well, that's what it's all about. You know, he's well, Mark's been racing long enough now. You know, he's bright, and you don't win it in one way. So as you were saying, you know, with the long distance races coming up, the amount of points on tap is quite incredible when you think about it.
Well, that's Mark Scaife's first race win here at Symmons Plains. Can you believe it? Since 1994, 5 years ago. Jason Bargwanna in for a well-earned second from Crompton, Tander, Ingalls, Seaton, McConville and Richards in 8th, which was a very good position. And there is Murphy in 10th. A strong run by John Bow also, and Cameron McLean, top privateer.